So I watched Megalopolis, a Fable, which is the new Francis Ford Coppola film. And I got to see this earlier than a lot of people. I saw it at the Toronto International Film Festival. This premiered at Cannes earlier this year. And I think going into this video, I have to emphasize, I like Francis Ford Coppola. You know, when you've made movies like The Godfather, I think you are inarguably one of the most important figures in the history of cinema. There's a lot of people coming into this ready to hate it because there's a lot of people that hate Francis Ford Coppola, and a lot of the things he's been accused of are definitely not good things. But I've always been somebody that says, if you make a great movie, I'm going to talk about the great movie. You know, Roman Polanski, not my favorite guy, but he made Chinatown and Rosemary's Baby. Those could still be some of my favorite movies. So I'm not coming at this from the perspective of fuck Francis Ford Coppola, fuck his movie. I'm just coming from the perspective of fuck this movie, because this was my most anticipated movie of the year for a while, just because there's been so much talk about what the hell is Megalopolis. If you don't know already, this is a movie that Francis Ford Coppola has been trying to make for almost 40 years, maybe more than 40 years. He has stated this has been the passion project that he has wanted to put out in the world, and no studio on the planet has wanted to fund this entire time. So he sold a huge part of his winery to kind of finance this entire thing himself. A whole $120 million worth of wine, and that is a lot of money to spend on a movie, let alone it being your own money. And I have to emphasize from the get-go, I respect Francis Ford Coppola for doing that. You know, a lot of film Twitter people consistently complain of how we should give every filmmaker a shit ton of money to make whatever they want. But the reality is, a lot of movies don't make money. So it's hard for a studio to justify giving their money to somebody to make a movie that they want to selfishly make. And Francis Ford Coppola selfishly made the movie he wanted to make, and I respect that. Kevin Costner has done the same thing this year with Horizon, which I didn't see chapter 1 yet. We don't know when chapter 2 is coming out, but the guys that put the money literally where their mouth is and say, this is the movie I want to make and I'm going to prove why this movie is awesome, and they go out and make the movie, that's a respectable thing to do. So when I heard that aspect of the film, along with it's this weird futuristic kind of story that nobody really knows what it's about, there's been a lot of fake marketing about how nobody really understands a Francis Ford Coppola movie when it comes out, but turns out they used AI, I guess, or fake movie quotes to try and market this film into being a masterpiece that a lot of people don't get. And there are a few people out there that seem to really enjoy this movie. I do think some people genuinely do like parts of it. I'm not denying that. But at the end of the day, I had to make a video on why Megalopolis is one of the worst fucking things I have ever seen in my entire life. And it's not even close. And I'm sorry if this is not a real breakdown of a review that I would normally do, because this movie just pissed me off in every possible way. Because half of the movie I was disassociating because I couldn't fucking believe the guy that made The Godfather, Godfather Part 2, Apocalypse Now, The Conversation, all these classic movies, made this. And I should have known going into this movie that there was a chance this could happen. But I am somebody that goes into every single movie very excited. There are very, very, very few times I go into a movie where I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to fucking sit through this. Like, genuinely, every movie I go to, I am hoping it's one of the best movies I've ever seen, or just a really good movie, or really fun. I'm looking forward to virtually everything I see. And when the reactions came out at Cannes, the Letterboxd curve was almost like a perfect arc. Like, you had one half saying this is one of the most incredible things ever made, and one half saying this is one of the worst pieces of shit ever created. And as a film fan, when I see an arc like that, I think, okay, this is a movie I have to see. Because a lot of movies that are divisive, I end up on either side of. I think there's a lot of people, when the general public hates it, they love it. There's a lot of people that when critics or really snobby type people like a movie, they're like, ah, fuck art, fuck this is pretentious. I'm somebody that goes into every kind of movie with an open mind. If you're meant to be dumb, fun entertainment, if it's really fun, I'm gonna praise it. If it's not dumb fun, I'm not gonna praise it. For films like Beau is Afraid, where half of the world thought it was one of the worst things of the year, I came out and said, you know what? That's a fucking great movie. It's my favorite movie movie of last year. And I stand by that. I stand by a lot of movies that a lot of people hate, and I will talk all day about that. So the day before my screening, my friend Amanda the Jedi, shout out her, gets out of the movie, meets me and my friend Zach from the Intercut podcast as we're getting a drink, and she says, this is one of the worst things I have seen in a very long time. But me and Amanda disagree on certain movies. So I was like, you know what? I hear you, but I'm still excited to see it tomorrow. So I go to my IMAX screening at the Toronto International Film Festival, just waiting to see what this movie could possibly be. I know it's futuristic. I know it's going to be wild. I know I'm about to experience something that is special. What I didn't expect is to have a different perspective on life after walking out of Megalopolis, because it really made me question, what is the point of trying to make movies? What is the point of trying to watch movies when the guy that is responsible for arguably the best movie ever made, when you ask the most random person on the street, like you check IMDb top 250, you ask the average guy, what's the best movie ever made? They're going to say, oh, it's The Godfather. There's no question. And to go from that to possibly, without hyperbole, and I know it's gonna sound crazy, potentially the worst movie I've ever sat through in my entire fucking life, it's just kind of crazy. I just am still baffled that I decided to spend time doing this. And in the first 5 minutes, I was like, okay, this is gonna be weird, because Adam Driver is like, time stop! And then the time stops. And I'm like, okay, this could be interesting. We'll see what Francis Ford Coppola's got cooking. And then about the 6th minute, Shia LaBeouf opens his fucking mouth, says something stupid, and I was like, holy shit, this is what the movie's gonna be. And from that point on, I gotta be honest, the reason this isn't a full ass review is because I just disassociated every 5 seconds of this movie. And then from that point on, I just couldn't focus on the movie, because every single time somebody said anything, I was in disbelief. The one thing I liked about Megalopolis is there's a scene where statues are alive and they're moving. That's the only thing I liked in this, and I barely liked that, because every performance, every line of dialogue, every editing decision is just a disaster from start to finish. The movie is about Adam Driver, who plays a guy named Caesar, who decides to remake Megalopolis, I think. Giancarlo Esposito plays the mayor of Megalopolis, and he wants to keep it the same. He wants the same kind of crime and greed and all that kind of stuff. This is from the synopsis of the movie. It's fucking stupid. He literally has a line that's something like, I'm the mayor. I can't tell you what happened in this movie, because every other scene is the worst thing you've ever fucking seen. There's a scene where Aubrey Plaza is in a room with Adam Driver, and she says something along the lines of like, oh, you're feeling really anal. And then she like gets on her knees and says, but I'm feeling really oral. And this is probably 15 minutes into the movie, I would say, but I don't even know if that's true, because I gotta be honest, I sat through that movie and I can't piece together everything, because when you hear a line of dialogue like that, it's like you're watching The Room. But it's Francis Ford Coppola, so I think a lot of people think it's supposed to be intentionally clever. It's fucking not. Shia LaBeouf is giving one of the worst performances you've ever seen, and then for 5 minutes you're sitting there thinking, this is one of the worst performances I've ever seen. But in something like Megalopolis, I experienced a new phenomenon. So when you're at a film festival, you're not really sleeping much. You're trying to fit in as many movies as possible. And to get real personal, to understand where I'm at in life, I had so much shit going on. I have a business I have to fix. I'm in the process of moving. I'm not sleeping. There's a lot of shit going on. And the night before the movie, I thought I was having a heart attack in the middle of the night. I'm literally in the middle of Googling what does a heart attack feel like and trying to see if my American health insurance works in Canada. I was freaking the fuck out. And I found out it was actually a panic attack. I had so much shit going on, I thought I was dying. So then fast forward 24 hours and I'm sitting in Megalopolis, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. There's a part where they enter a Roman Coliseum, and for a second I think, oh, thank God, maybe something interesting is gonna happen. And then all of a sudden, it's just like the dumbest thing you've ever fucking seen, and you're like, why is this in a Roman Coliseum? And it cuts to Adam Driver doing this, and you're like, what is happening? I am sitting there questioning, what am I doing with my life? This was a film festival I always wanted to go to. Am I wasting my time watching movies? Is this what the career of every acclaimed director becomes? Is this really what we're gonna start calling the future of cinema? Has civilization fallen this bad that we think this is the end of movies? Because if movies were going to die, it probably would be something like Megalopolis, where the guy that made the best movie ever made the worst movie ever made. And it got to the point where I was like, are we all gonna be this pretentious saying this is one of the best movies ever made? Can we all fucking stop with that? I am so sick and tired of you trying to sell me on a lie. I don't genuinely believe that anybody loved loved this movie. Again, my friend Amanda made the point that if you read every single positive review on this movie, everything that's like 3.5 and above, there's a lot of it where they don't say, oh, this is a good movie that I enjoyed. A lot of them say they couldn't wait for it to end. They say they respect it for what it goes for. And this is why I think it's kind of bullshit that we can't compare art to sports sometimes, because all these people complain about, oh, not everybody should get a participation trophy. Then maybe not every movie made by a proclaimed filmmaker should be rated as such. I am so sick and tired of people saying, well, a lot of people worked hard on this, so we got to respect that. People work hard at a lot of things. Doesn't mean they're good. I worked hard as shit at McDonald's in high school. Doesn't mean I was making a good burger. And maybe the whole point of the movie is to try and prove how much a filmmaker could get away with testing an audience. And listen, I'm not a Marvel fan by any means, but I'd rather watch Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania any fucking day of the week over this, and that is saying something. Because going back to the panic attacks, which I've never experienced, I also never experienced this in a movie. And as I keep spiraling while watching this movie, I'm like, the panic is gonna go away. You're having a panic attack. Just focus on the movie. It's gonna go away. And every time I would focus on the movie, it's the worst scene I've ever seen in my entire life. So it got to the point I was so overwhelmed. The movie is so bad that I was like, I have to walk out. I can't keep doing this. The movie's like 2 hours and 20 minutes. I checked my watch. It's about 2 hours and 5 minutes that passed. I said, I'm at least gonna take a 2-minute break. So I walk out of the theater. I'm sitting there. I'm still freaking out. I ask the volunteer, how much time is left? She says, about 15 minutes. And I say, cool. And I said, fuck this movie. I left. It's the only movie I've ever walked out of in my entire life. And if it sounds like this isn't a movie review of Megalopolis, it's because it's not. Because I've never experienced a movie like this where I don't know how to feel, and it's not in a good way. Because in my 27 years of watching movies, I have never walked out of a movie thinking any less of an individual. I've never experienced a movie where it feels like time has literally just gotten discombobbled. And maybe that's the point of the movie. Maybe it's intentionally trying to piss you off. And maybe I just don't get it. Maybe I'm the dumbass that doesn't understand this really high art. But again, I think we could respect somebody shooting their shot and going for it, and also say, yeah, you completely missed. This is kind of a spoiler, but if you're watching this video, you've either seen the movie or heard about this part of the movie. So if you don't want to get spoiled this movie by this point in the video, I don't know why you're still here. But they do try something innovative where they try and get an audience member to interact with the movie. Like a guy literally ran into our theater with a microphone and asked Adam Driver a question on screen. But even that part of the movie is super disappointing. Like, yeah, it's interesting to break the fourth wall in that way. There's no denying it. But I thought like maybe if it was a 5-minute interaction between the two of them, it'd be way more impressive. But instead you have this fucking guy coming out of nowhere asking a question, and then there's this awkward 5-second pause that's clearly meant to give the asker, I can't even fucking talk anymore, the journalist. That's how much this movie pisses me off. There's like a 5-second gap between the journalist's question and Adam Driver's response, which is clearly meant to give any sort of lag enough time. And the whole thing is just a fucking nightmare to sit through. And the craziest part of all of this is I kind of want to see it again, just so I could watch it frame by frame and make another video breaking down why this might be the least watchable movie I have ever seen in my entire life. Some people on Letterboxd like it. I'm glad they do. There's some people on Letterboxd that gave it 5 stars. I think they're full of shit. And if you are somebody that gave it 5 stars, I genuinely want to know, what did you love about this movie? Because to me, there's life before you see Megalopolis and there's life after you see Megalopolis. And even though I've had a lot of great things happen in my life over the past 2 weeks, for some odd reason, life after Megalopolis just feels a tiny bit shittier. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it as always. I know this isn't my regular kind of video. I just felt like I had to let out some of my frustration in my immediate reaction to this fucking movie. This is all my social media right here. Letterboxd is the one I check the most, so be sure to check out that. And if you like my rant, be sure to like the rant. I'm not gonna have a video like this all the time, but occasionally it's just gonna have to come out because I can't stand this fucking movie and I'm not gonna get started on it again. If you really like the video, be sure to subscribe. We do a ton of movie stuff here. We talk about as many movies as humanly possible. I do have a TIFF recap breaking down the 37 full movies I've seen coming out soon. It's just a super long video, but if you don't want to miss that, be sure to subscribe now before you forget. And be sure to comment down below, what did you think of Megalopolis? I'm genuinely serious. If you love the movie, I want to know why. I just want to hear why somebody loves it so much. If you hated it, did you have a similar experience to me where you kept disassociating and couldn't believe how bad this thing really gets? I just want to talk about this movie as little as possible, but also it's just fun to communicate with you guys about how this movie made you feel. And if you like this video and you want to see more, YouTube thinks you're gonna like one of these 2 videos right here. So I hope that's the case, and I hope you keep watching my stuff, and I hope I keep delivering that good content for you to keep enjoying. So this is Chase. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I hope you have an awesome day. Thanks.